Welcome to Bucket List Careers, the podcast. I'm Krista Laurie. Thanks for joining. In studio today, we have Sasha Cohen. She is founder and CEO of Sasha Claire Growth and Brand Management. Welcome, Sasha. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you so much. I can't believe episode 170 plus, right?
I know.
Crazy.
It's amazing. This was a pandemic project that has just grown, and it is so easy to get guests, especially around here. And you're my neighbor. I've had so many Larchmont, Mamaroneck, Rye, Greenwich, mompreneurs, guys. Like it's really incredible how much talent there is around here.
Yes.
So let's talk about you. You didn't start out doing this, and that's what this podcast is all about, what you've pivoted towards to find more purpose. So let's dial it back. You were originally attracted to corporate media and sales in New York City.
Yeah, so to be honest, I went to school for psychology, and people always say, so why did you not become a psychologist or a psychiatrist or whatever, in that field? And I think I always knew in my heart that I wanted to be in media. I grew up with parents in media. It's like in my blood.
Yeah.
And I joke like having a psych degree really helps when you're working in kind of the media and marketing world. But I started my career, I got really lucky. During, the recession when people weren't getting jobs, I actually did get one. And I did get the Devil Wears Prada job.
Nice.
And so I did work at Condé Nast. That movie is unfortunately kind of accurate. Condé Nast is amazing, but I did live that life.
Oh, I hear that from fashion types.
I totally like the daycare forms, the dog food, the red Swedish fish from the rainbow jars, like working long hours. But real. I started in corporate, yeah. So, and then I went from there to Food and Wine and Food Network, and I kind of took the corporate route.
So that was, 15 years or so in that world
I
for
did
you?
about 12 years of that with really no break in between except when I had my first daughter. And then I kind of went a little bit less corporate, but still, companies that were well known or starting up and growing. And so definitely not my own thing.
Yeah.
But I shifted, and then I was at Scary Mommy actually for a little while.
Oh, and what was your favorite in terms of that whole evolution, place to work, and why?
I would have to say from a Food and Wine, Travel and Leisure were amazing for two reasons. I was such like a foodie, and I also love to travel, obviously. The people I met there were incredible. The friendships were so real. We were together for 5+ years. And, I was higher up at that time. I was, on a big team. I was running tons of big brands. And I loved that. I think my favorite job was being on the launch team at Scary Mommy. I literally left maternity leave and started there. So it could not have been more synergistic to my life. And I love that brand. It's completely 100% authentic, real motherhood, and
a little irreverent.
No guilt motherhood. So it will always have a special place in my heart. Yeah.
But then there was a point where something wasn't working for you anymore, and you actually had a health scare that you'd consider your aha moment where you switched gears. So let's talk about that.
Yeah, I think it's a really long story, but I think that, and I want to preface, I think everyone has a story, and that's a lot of what I do with my current job. But I, after I got pregnant with my second, which was, my girls I have two girls, and there's about a 4-year gap between them. I started getting these debilitating migraines, and they weren't like normal headaches. They were constant, 24/7, all the time. And I was like, I was getting blown off. It's stress. You're this, you're that. You're working. You have a new baby, postpartum, which I definitely think was real, and I had some of that and struggled with it.
Yeah.
But this lasted a long time, and I tried to power through until I just really couldn't, and I had to get answers. And I had to advocate and see so many doctors, but to get to an answer, luckily I'm fine, and it was something that I still work on daily from like getting over how traumatic that all was, and figuring out the migraines. But it made me realize that corporate wasn't, I had moved to the suburbs. I had 2 kids. My husband had an intense job. Like I wanted something more local. So that's where things changed.
Okay, and what about the origins of the idea for this? Where did that come from? You were transferring clearly some skills from media, doing what you do now, but was it someone who said, hey, what about your own agency helping people with marketing? And let's talk specifically about what Sasha Claire does.
It actually, I have to be honest with you, it wasn't really somebody. It was more that when I started to accept that I wasn't living in the city or Brooklyn, which I loved, and it was post-COVID, I would go to so many new places around here, Larchmont, Rye, and then I would go back a month later and they'd be closed. And I was like, I don't understand. Like, why is everything shutting down? And then I kind of had another aha moment that everything was shutting down because people didn't know it existed.
Right.
Or they just weren't successful.
The word wasn't out.
Yeah. And so they had two options, which was pay a large New York City agency hundreds of thousands of dollars or whatever, like a month it was, or or do it themselves. And it's almost impossible to run your business and your marketing. And I started to kind of dabble in it. And I was like, wow, I love, like, that is where I started meeting the most unique, amazing, inspirational people. And I thought, I have experience. I'm doing this. I want to help founders and entrepreneurs with this.
Small businesses.
Yes.
And I'm looking at the list of what you do. Website revamps, brand mission development, social media management, which is huge, right? Content creation, promotions. There are small agencies that have been doing this. What do you feel is singular about what you're bringing to the table?
So I think a lot of it is that, when people say, oh, you're a social media manager, like I would say that a lot of people who I work with, most of them don't call me that, because there's so much more I do. Like, I'm really diving deep into, I always say this, like, your why. Like, why do you do this? Why is your company different? Like, making you kind of come out of your shell, tell your story, think
the narrative.
deep about it, the narrative. And I think that, of course, like, it is more affordable at times to hire like a 22-year-old out of college to run your social. And sure that and it's not they don't deserve jobs. They do.
Sure.
But there's experience that I have and I've seen it, and I'm like constantly learning and educating about myself on the trends and what's going on and how to like use AI correctly and how to brand yourself and like, everything. There's kind of a method to the madness. And so the smaller agencies, you're still going to be a number a little bit. With me, like, you're really like, I meet with my clients every week or every other week for an hour. Like, I know them so well, like their success I feel, their failure I feel, like when I literally feel it in my heart, and I love them so much. I want them to succeed. There's a lot of passion behind it.
Yeah.
And that's different than just I'm running your branding or your marketing. Like I want to be
engagement level.
part of your journey to like success.
Yeah. Who are some of your clients? I mean, I've had a couple on the podcast. Lauren.
Yeah. So I have one of my favorite amazing clients is Laura Burke, who runs Fitted, formerly Fit by Burke, which is she's an intimate apparel stylist, which is amazing. I work with the Idea Kitchen. I also love Build for Life, which I work with them. I now work with the Bunny Hive in Scarsdale, which is a really really cool and cute social club for kids. I work with Pause to Be Present.
I had her too.
Yeah, she's amazing. They're amazing. Both those women are amazing.
Founder, yeah, Cheryl Browse, yeah.
I love them.
But like, so you don't necessarily have a profile.
No, I think because I have a background in more working with so many brands. Like I sold CPG at one company, pharma at another, beauty at another. I can kind of, it's really about creation, and it's not like I'm just working with like I work with Studio 50 also.
Oh,
like,
yeah, Michelle Gross.
Michelle, yeah. And
One
she's
of my favorite
amazing
episodes.
and talented. And like, so because it's not, oh, I'm a fitness, I don't represent just fitness brands.
Yeah.
I'm like a lifestyle brand marketing person. So I think that is amazing. I can shift between gears, and I love that.
A lot of women. And you had a strong mom. You said you grew up with the mom who would say to you, power women at the dinner table. And you didn't get it at the time, but now you do. And she was an executive in the TV space when there were just all men that she had to work with and navigate that. So how did her experiences, what she told you, how did that shape you?
So, in the 80s when it wasn't even really a thing, my mom was the thing that wasn't, if you want us to call it that way. So she was in her late 20s running a sales team at ABC and Channel 5 News, and she was a boss. Like, she was in the suit wearing red lipstick, which is why I have it on today, saying red lipstick sells deals and all this stuff. And she constantly, and my dad was the camera boy who literally had a crush on her in his Converse sneakers and was too scared to say anything. And they met there. But she was almost my whole life the primary, breadwinner in our family. And then, my dad also founded his own television station. There was a lot of media. He founded New England Cable News. I'm from Boston originally. And I just lived with the most, amazing, powerful mom who just said, women can do anything. And in a town where a lot of moms didn't work. But to her, she wanted to kind of break the mold. And I don't look back and think, she wasn't there.
Yeah.
I think she was always there when she said she'd be there. She always showed up. She never didn't, both of them. And yes, I had nannies and all that, but I wasn't raised by nannies. I was raised by a power mom.
Yeah.
And now I have this job and I was in media and my sister's in media. So, and it's just, that's all I know. And she was my role model. And so,
do you think that she is part of the reason why you've said to yourself, I want to change my trajectory career-wise and find something that really fuels me, because she was so passionate?
Yeah, I think
a lot of people just go through the motions, working without assessing and saying, okay, I want to make a change because I've got one life to live.
Totally.
And you spend so many hours working.
So she actually did make a change. So, and I think it was right. What was interesting is she shifted after probably 20 years or 25 years in corporate to do more nonprofit work. She was at the Children's Museum in Boston raising millions. She was at the United Way. And I have a huge philanthropic, a love. My newest client is the Sharing Shelf. So I
got another amazing rock star.
I want to just give everything and, everything to them. I fell in love day one. I really, really just love it so much. And I think this has allowed me to also have that. I work with a lot of businesses that are purpose driven, that are either, even if it is a fitness studio like Studio 50, it's their whole mantra is about helping women feel confident and feel good and welcome and community. So it's a lot of that. And I think that in corporate, it literally, when you're in sales, it's sell a deal.
Yeah.
That's how you make money. Do it again. And every day, and this is different. And that's scary and awesome at the same time.
So what would you say are the biggest obstacles you've faced starting your business? I don't know how old it is, how long you've been in existence, but
yeah.
And even if there's a story of something that went wrong and how you navigated it, I think that illustrates nicely for listeners to learn from.
So I think that, I guess, a word of advice is maybe don't do it as intensely as I did. But if you have an idea and you want to do it, my advice is do it, because you're going to think about it forever. And also, it's okay to ask for help. And some of the best decisions I made initially were joining groups, being part of my entrepreneur group, which is run by Dara Asman, and, going to networking events. So many of my friends have come from this. And I have to say that, in a world, you're in a new town, I'm not a Westchester person. I have never felt more alone. I mean, never felt less alone in my life.
Yes.
I literally feel like I have a squad of cheerleaders. And I think that is so nice. We all show up. And I always tell this story. I spoke my first on stage, standing on stage, mic'd up in front of a huge group in Westport, Connecticut, about what I do. And my whole mantra being, remember your why, remember why you started. And I was so nervous going into it, all dressed up and my whole thing. And I was oh my God, my people aren't here. And I look out in the audience and 5 of them are sitting in the front row and had driven that day. And I was this is what it means to have community and show up. I think that the hardest part for me is when I fall in love with a client and I have to say goodbye to them for maybe their financial reasons, or that it's just the timing, we're pausing, or that it just isn't working, which I feel so fortunate. So many of my clients have continued since I started my business. And the ones that haven't, and there's been a few where transparently, it has broken my heart to say goodbye because it feels like I built it with them. And then I'm like, wait. I want to see it through.
Yeah.
But I have to remember it's not always personal. Like, this is a job. And so I think that's the hardest thing, and not reacting or being upset by that, but trying to realize it's a learning experience and that something amazing will come from it.
Yeah, you said to me, it's the best and the hardest thing I've ever done building this business. But in terms of the pivot and offering advice to listeners, people who are thinking about making a change but maybe hesitating to pull the trigger, what would you give them in terms of your experience, through your lens? Like, what are your nuggets of wisdom on finding your professional purpose?
I think it really is to think hard about what makes you want to get up every day and what works for your life, for your family, what brings you joy. I think also realizing if you're going to start a business, that what you think it's going to be may change over time. Like, it may be one thing and then it may be another, and you're pivoting within your pivot.
And that's not a failure.
Yes. Yeah, there's, I'm making some changes right now. Some really exciting things are going to be happening in the fall, which I haven't quite announced yet. But I'm okay with that. But at first I was like, whoa, is this what I want to do? But you learn as you go. Just start, though, because you can sit there analyzing it every day. And if in your heart you think it's a great idea and you believe in it, and I say this to my clients, you have to believe in what you're doing, because the consumers are not going to buy it or go to your class or sign up for your camp unless you really believe in it.
Everyone can smell a lack of transparency right away.
So authentic, I really make people dig into being authentic in their social media, in their marketing, in their branding. You don't have to tell everything personal if you don't want. That's your choice. But the more you're willing to offer, the more people are willing to give.
Fair. So if people do want to hire you, do you have different tiers of the cost structure, how involved you are? Obviously they'd have to have a consult call with you, but is it something that can be customized?
So it used to be very customized. I think as I've evolved and my business has grown, I've kind of made it into 3 buckets, if you want to call it that. No pun intended. But one is just full social media management.
Yeah.
And then that includes content creation and posting and tagging and boosting and all these terms that may mean nothing. But if you don't know them, you probably,
if you're a business owner, it should mean
probably
something.
know what they are. And then the other is just content creation for these brands, but then they handle their social. And then a big part that I have loved so much are collabs. So taking a business like Build for Life and combining it with a yoga company or a music company and seeing them come to life together. And so a collab is not something I usually do solo. I don't just say I'll do your collabs. It will come with social or content, but it's a big offering that people have really loved. And it's also brought even more amazing people into my life.
Love it. All right. So where should we send people online to learn more, get in touch with you?
Most people would say go to my website, and I'm going to say go to my Instagram.
Okay. No, you'd be surprised. A lot of people mention Instagram first.
Yeah. So what as someone who works in this world, I don't use my website a lot for showing my work. You'll see a lot of it on my Instagram. So it's at Sasha Claire Management. Very easy to follow, easy to find. And a lot of stuff is there. You can reach out to me there or on email. It's Sasha@SashaClaire.com. It's not that hard to remember. And I'm happy. I also do, even tonight, I'm doing a virtual event all about social media branding. People can tune into that. So I'm starting to do more of these micro learning, educational events. So, cool. And I did one with Dara's group at Hampshire Country Club, and that was amazing. So there's a lot of stuff going on, but you can reach out to me definitely on Instagram or via email. It's the best way.
Perfect. All right, well, thank you so much for sharing all of this.
Me.
It was super fun. It went too fast.
I know. I mean, this is amazing. Your success is amazing.
Sasha Cohen, no, you're amazing. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
And that'll do it for this episode of Bucket List Careers. Be sure to follow us on social media at Bucket List Careers on all the platforms. And until the next episode, be well.